Hey, it's SmokeMonster, and today I'm covering the release of the Sega CD FPGA core by Srg320. And Srg320 is the brilliant coder who brought us the Super Nintendo core about a year ago. And since then, they've been filling in tons of special chips, little FPGA soft cores as we call them, for all of the special chips for the Super Nintendo. A whole bunch of them. Pretty much everything you want is covered now. And they also did the for the Sega Genesis core, the Virtual Racing SVP chip, and now we have Sega CD. So this is going to be a really exciting one for a lot of you, including myself. I've always said that the Sega CD has pound for pound the greatest library in the history of gaming. Not saying it's the greatest library, but it has tons of great games, and let's go check out some of those. Let me just show you my setup really quick. I have, my MiSTer has the I.O. board, so I'm running analog out to a PVM. This is a Sony PVM 2030, and simultaneously it also supports doing HDMI out, so that's what I'm capturing for the video here. And you can also now, all cores support direct video, so you don't even need the I.O. board. If all you want is pure analog output, you can use look into the direct video options for MiSTer. But let me start from scratch here, fire up my MiSTer, and while that's going, I'll talk a little bit about the controller situation. So MiSTer has really great controller support too. I'm kind of putting the Xbox One controller through the paces lately, and it's just plug and play with MiSTer. You can either do it Bluetooth or with a wire like I'm doing here. But there's no reason that you can't use some sort of adapter and use a real Sega Genesis controller, or even like a Sega Saturn controller, whatever you want. Use a USB, or you can use one of the new low latency options. They're really great. But let's switch over to the MiSTer now, have mine fired up here, and I'm just going to jump into console and go down to Mega CD. It's its own core here, and it will jump straight to the BIOS, which I have set to the Sega CD 2 BIOS. But once the BIOS is loaded, you can insert your disk, and this core supports bin and Q or ISO and Q files. So what you really want to look for is the best set to use for MiSTer and for Mega SD for that matter, and for anything really, is the redump set. And the entire set is on archive.org if you do a little searching. And it gets updated every single month. So I will show off Sonic CD here because that's the one that most people are going to be wanting to see. And as you can see, it fires up the BIOS just like a real system. I've inserted the disk. That's what that bin was, bin and Q. And there it is. So this is going to be a pretty cool one. I mean, Sega CD is no joke. It's an extremely powerful console, and this was no small feat to pull off here on FPGA. And even just to fit it into MiSTer is kind of an impressive thing, and that's why it's its own core. They've stripped out the things that aren't anything that's not being used on the Genesis core, and they've tweaked it for Sega CD here on the standalone Mega CD core. So if you don't know, look into the hardware upgrades that the Sega CD brought to the Sega Genesis, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But this looks beautiful already. I guess it only has a very small number of issues on day one, and so probably by the time you're watching this video, those will all have been corrected. So yeah. I'm not crazy about this song, but for some reason through the years it's got stuck in my head. But let's just start the game up. And I'm not going to play this seriously, this is just to show it off, but I really don't even know how my buttons are set up here, but let's just see. Okay, there we go. Yeah, everything seems to be working. Look at that, man. On my PVM, this looks incredible. And actually, the HDMI capture should be pretty good too. I'm using Srg320's interpolation filter, interpolation sharp, which is ultra sharp, but then it also does a tiny bit of horizontal interpolation so that you don't get screen tearing. But man, Srg320 has some incredible filters, and they just make this look beautiful. But on the PVM, of course, it's zero latency direct video output. So there's no scaling, there's no filters, there's nothing. It's just direct off the FPGA. And yeah, so it's beautiful as a low latency device. But let's just fire up one more game, a game that's near and dear to my heart, but probably nobody else likes. This is Wheel of Fortune, a really brilliant use of FMV here. Haven't tested this one, so let's just see if it works with no issues. I'm sure it will. I love this game because it basically transports you into the 1990s TV show of Wheel of Fortune, which, you know, either you watched or maybe your mom and dad watched it or whatever. But yeah, I'll let the FMV intro play here because it's pretty awesome. And oh, there's that van I want. Those are so cool. Yeah, Wheel of Fortune. And I'm not going to actually play this because you don't want to see that. Just want to make sure that it worked here. You can even play one-player mode, which is brilliant. Doesn't save your game anyway, so there's no point in putting a name in. There's the lovely Vanna White. All right. Well, that's pretty insane. You guys are going to love this. I love it. There's a huge library actually on the Sega CD to check out, including some incredible killer games, like one of my favorite games of all time, KO Flying Squadron. I also have like Robo-LS, all sorts of stuff really once you dig into it. So enjoy this core. Thank you to Srg320. And a huge thank you to my patrons who make everything possible on this channel. Anyone who supports me at any level gets an instant invite to the SmokeMonster Elite Discord channel, where you can hang out with me and all of the cool FPGA devs and just regular old gamer people. So yeah, huge thank you to you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.